We've all been there. You're in a conversation, and suddenly everything goes silent. The awkward tension starts creeping in, and you can't help but think, what did I say wrong? Or, why is this so uncomfortable? But here's the secret. Awkward conversations are not the problem. They're an opportunity. And with a few key strategies, you can turn any awkward moment into a seamless interaction. Whether it's a first date, a job interview, or a casual chat with a stranger, mastering awkward conversations is an essential life skill. So, let's dive into how you can navigate these situations and come out on top, confident and in control. Understanding what makes conversations awkward. Before we dive into solutions, it's important to understand why some conversations are awkward. Typically, awkwardness arises when there's a disconnect between the people involved, whether it's in tone, body language, or topic. It often happens when there's a mismatch in expectations or when one party feels uncertain about how to engage. Think of it this way. Every conversation has an invisible current of social cues, and when one person isn't picking up on those cues, it can create tension. Imagine someone telling a joke, and the other person doesn't laugh because they didn't catch the humor. The moment freezes, and awkwardness fills the air. It's that misalignment that causes the discomfort. Another big factor is fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing, being judged, or looking foolish. This fear makes people overthink and self-censor, which only increases the awkwardness. Overthinking can result in awkward pauses, misunderstood intentions, or conversations that feel forced. The truth is, most of the time, people are more focused on how they're perceived than they are on the conversation itself, which can lead to missed opportunities for connection. The power of preparation. One of the easiest ways to handle awkward situations is by preparing in advance. While you can't predict every awkward conversation, you can certainly build a foundation that minimizes the chance of a silence-filled interaction. So this is what you should do. Know your audience. Whether it's a casual conversation or a more serious one, understanding your audience is critical. Before you engage in a conversation, think about the person or group you'll be talking to. What do they like? What might be on their mind? What are their values and interests? The more you can connect the conversation to something relevant to them, the more natural and less awkward it will feel. For example, let's say you're going to a networking event. You don't have to have a deep dive into each person's life, but a quick understanding of the event's theme and the type of people attending can provide helpful conversation starters. I saw that you're working in digital marketing. What's been the most exciting development in that field recently? This can set the stage for a much smoother exchange than randomly asking about someone's favorite pizza topping. Prepare for small talk. Small talk is one of the most common culprits behind awkward conversations. Often, we feel forced to fill in the silence with trivial topics like the weather or the traffic. The trick is to have a few go-to conversation topics that aren't too generic or too personal. This way, you don't have to awkwardly scramble for words when the silence hits. Have you read any interesting books lately? I tried a new restaurant last weekend. Have you been to any good places around here? I saw a funny story online today. Have you heard about it? These simple, open-ended questions make it easy for the other person to continue the conversation, and they give both parties the chance to talk about things they're passionate about. Having a mental list of questions or topics can help prevent the dreaded silence and keep the conversation flowing naturally. If you want more examples like this, complete with details on when to use them, you can check out my free guide linked below. Have a mental exit strategy. Not all conversations are meant to last forever, and sometimes you need a graceful exit. If you sense that the conversation is going nowhere and neither party is invested, it's helpful to have an exit strategy prepared. It could be as simple as, "It was great talking to you, but I see someone I need to catch up with," or "I'm going to grab a drink, but it was really nice chatting with you." The key here is to exit with confidence and grace, leaving the door open for future conversations. Body language and tone. Have you ever been in a conversation where the words were fine, but the body language felt off? Maybe the other person was fidgeting, or you were crossing your arms without realizing it. These nonverbal cues are just as important, if not more so, than the words themselves. So this is what you can do to make sure your body language aligns with the message you want to convey. Maintain open body language. Your posture can say more than your words ever could. If you're standing with your arms crossed, avoiding eye contact, or backing away, it can signal to the other person that you're uninterested or uncomfortable. Instead, Try to keep your body language open and inviting. Smile, nod, and keep your arms relaxed. These small actions create a welcoming space for conversation and signal to the other person that you're engaged and open to the discussion. Watch your tone. The tone of your voice plays a huge role in how your message is received. Speaking too loudly or too softly can make the conversation feel strained. Try to modulate your tone to suit the mood of the conversation. If you're talking about something serious, your tone should reflect that, calm and steady. People tend to pick up on these subtle shifts and will mirror your tone, helping to establish rapport. Use active listening. One of the best ways to avoid awkwardness is to truly listen to the other person. Active listening means not only hearing their words, but also being fully present in the conversation. Show interest by nodding, making eye contact, and offering verbal affirmations like, "That's interesting," or "Tell me more about that." When you give the other person the space to speak, it takes the pressure off you to keep the conversation going. It also makes them feel valued and heard, which builds a natural connection. Navigating awkwardness with humor. There's a reason why comedians are great at handling awkward moments. They've learned to use humor as a way to diffuse tension and keep things moving. Humor is a fantastic tool for navigating uncomfortable situations, as long as it's used appropriately. So how you can use it? Don't force the joke. You know those moments when someone tries to crack a joke, but it lands with a thud? That's what happens when humor feels forced. The best way to use humor in an awkward conversation is to let it arise naturally. If you make an error or say something awkward, instead of panicking, you can acknowledge it with a self-deprecating joke. This can ease the tension, and the other person will appreciate that you're comfortable enough to laugh at yourself. Well, that was an epic fail, wasn't it? Let's just pretend that didn't happen. Use humor to shift topics. Humor is also a great way to gently steer the conversation in a different direction. If the conversation is veering into uncomfortable territory or awkward silence, a lighthearted joke can act as a buffer, giving everyone a chance to reset. Well, enough about that. Who's excited for the weekend? This shift can give the other person an opportunity to engage without feeling cornered or pressured to continue the uncomfortable topic. Recovering gracefully after an awkward moment. Everyone's experienced a moment where they've said the wrong thing or misjudged the situation. It's inevitable, but the way you recover from an awkward moment is what will define the outcome. So how you can do it? Acknowledge it without overreacting. If you feel an awkward moment happening, instead of avoiding it or trying to change the subject too quickly, simply acknowledge it with grace. Often, just a light comment about the awkwardness can make it feel less tense. Well, that was an awkward pause. Or, I didn't quite mean it that way, but I'm glad we can laugh about it. This self-awareness can ease the discomfort and show that you're not afraid of making mistakes. Move on without dwelling. Once you've acknowledged the awkwardness, it's time to move on. Don't dwell on the moment or apologize repeatedly. People often feel more awkward when the topic is dragged out. Instead, gently change the subject or ask an open-ended question to get the conversation back on track. And that's how you master the art of awkward conversations. By preparing in advance, paying attention to body language, using humor, and recovering with grace, you can turn any uncomfortable moment into an opportunity for connection. Remember, everyone has awkward moments. What matters is how you handle them. With these strategies in your toolkit, you'll be ready to confidently tackle any conversation that comes your way. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe for more tips on navigating social situations with ease. I'll see you on the next video.